And we're live. What's up, everybody? It's Celso Oliveira once again here with Ivan and Eric. We have a show to do. We have a first loss to discuss. Nothing we like to do more than discuss a loss, and we haven't had a chance to do that. We'll do that today. Ivan will give his thoughts on the first leg of the Concacaf game, which he didn't have a chance to do it on our mid-season show, right? And then we'll talk about the big dance, the big show, of course, the second leg of CONCACAF, the game tomorrow in Puebla. I'm very excited for it. Probably one of the most important LAFC games in history. And we're going to be breaking it down today for here. About 30-minute show. So, guys, keep it tight. Keep it short.
All right.
But first, Fugazi. All right, here we are. Appreciate everybody joining. Excuse me. And I'll go directly to you, Ivan. No bullshit this time. We're just going to go straight to you and talk about the first leg, which, again, we didn't have a chance to talk to you. Were you surprised by LAFC's dominance of your first love, man? It's that girlfriend that sticks around in your heart, even though you married a beautiful woman. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you feel seeing LAFC trash Cruz Azul 3-0 at beautiful BMO?
Yeah, no, it was a great game. If you were there, the atmosphere was amazing. I think that's the kind of atmosphere I would want for every match and any game that I go to. I think it was surprising to see how Cruz Azul is identified as like the grit that they have, and they showed none of it this last match. I don't know where that came from or what percentage of that had to do with them not really trying to go after this tournament. I also think that Dos Santos played his cards well. I think in the beginning, Cruz Azul had the game, and then there was really nothing the other team can do. So kudos to Dos Santos on this. I think that was his win. Now they have to come in return. It's not over, but pretty much it's a sentence. Like it's a death sentence at this point, you know.
Yeah, of course. Eric, now we talked about this on the last show. And by the way, if you haven't checked it out, even though it was a pregame show against Portland, a lot of relevant points there about lineups and what to expect to this first leg. So we're just really going to go deeper into some of these thoughts. And, you know, the first one and the last one that we left with was really that we can't sleep on a team just because we applied a 3-0 win on them. So how are you feeling, especially after this loss at Portland, going into the Cruz Azul game? And again, what does it mean to have a 3-0 lead there? I know we didn't get any goals scored at us, but are you confident going into the second leg?
I feel good going into the second leg. I think confidence is too much for a team like Cruz Azul, as well as going down to Mexico to play. Mexico is a house of horrors when it comes to MLS teams on a CONCACAF Champions League leg. I believe, if I'm correct, there's only 5 MLS victories on Mexican legs in CONCACAF of all time. So this is a very long odds. That said, briefly on Portland, not concerned. Like Portland, when a loss feels great, we'll get into that more. So I'm not concerned about that at all with Cruz Azul. And yeah, Henry in the chat, I hope they brought their own chef as well. Yes, food poisoning is a real thing.
Man, I've been eating some Cliff Bars.
Yeah, as far as the second leg here, I think it should suit the way that LAFC prefers to play, which is, you know, a mid-block, low-block, counter-attacking transition game. LAFC does not like to go up against teams that sit in a low block. They prefer to counterattack and get a numerical advantage after suffering and put it away. And Cruz Azul basically having to chase 3 goals means that LAFC can sit back and force turnovers and play their game and use their superior speed on the front line to go after those defenders. And Ivan, I also want there was a severe injury to one of Cruz Azul's starting center backs. Yes.
Yeah, it was a striker, Ibanez. He might have. Rumors are he might have just has a muscle strain, but it looked more serious. Um, Liga MX doesn't really shy from like the actual news, so he might be back, but he won't be back soon. Maybe like in a couple months. But it's one of those injuries where you saw him go down and you knew it was like not good. I will say, coming to your point too, like I'm interested to see how LAFC shows up the first 10 minutes because that is where Alojalense pretty much got the goal in within a couple minutes. And if that happens in Cruz Azul, it's just gonna come, right? I think what LAFC has an advantage on this match is um, they don't like to face teams that sit back. Fortunately, they have such a large advantage that Cruz Azul's gonna have to go after the game, and I think that's pretty much what makes this game gonna go in Cruz Azul. I mean, in LAFC's favor overall, but it's not gonna be easy.
No, I think I predict LAFC to be down at some point. And if you're down by one goal, it gives the other team some hope that they can get a second goal and just be one away, right? By now, what would need to happen for us is just score one goal. Once that ball goes in, now you have to score a lot more because that away goal tiebreaker, which I think gives us the advantage and the incentive more than anything to go forward and actually attack right off the bat and show it to Cruz Azul that we came to play and we're about to just put another goal on you and put this game out of reach. If you sit back and you just get scored once, you get too vulnerable. And I don't know if you can climb back from that kind of deficit, right? So I'd much rather see a team that is explosive, ready to play. Of course, play smart, right? But don't completely retreat. Don't park the bus. There's absolutely no benefit in parking the bus, given that they haven't had an away goal. And if you get one, you can really do well. Now, one more question for you, Ivan. And I really believe that the team was, there was certain players that couldn't even travel here. So the team was extremely depleted coming into Cruz Azul. So beyond the guy that just went down, a forward, who else do you expect to be back that did not play in LA, right? And could make a difference down there in Puebla?
Movie is the starting left center back, which is Eric Lira. Boanga just embarrassed and David Martinez embarrassed. So Lira is technically like a center defensive midfielder, and they put him at essentially left back at certain parts of the game, and that's just not his position. Biovi is going to be back. I think he was out on yellow card accumulation, so that's going to be a player that they're kind of. And then Arcamon's going to rotate a lot of guys. So coming into it from the America match, it was pretty tame compared for like a derby. But he's gonna have to tinker like he always does. He might switch to goalkeeper again. That's just Larcamon's style. And if Mark Dos Santos is noticing, like I'm sure he has tabs on each player, but I heard that the match is gonna be a lot more people attending this Puebla match than usually goes. I think they're excited to see LAFC and Sun, mostly Sun, but LAFC has a huge. LAFC has a huge advantage because like they have players that people like to watch, like Lloris. They know Lloris. They know Boanga. Mexico knows Boanga. Like if there's a player in MLS, it's probably Messi and Boanga. Like those are the two, and that's gonna, I think, help the environment. Maybe not so much for LAFC. It's gonna play a factor for sure.
Dude, I think both teams have a good relationship. 2 transfers already between the two. So, I mean, it just seems to me that it's not necessarily like a rivalry, right? It's just a good series. Eric, I'll go to you here, but we're going to really dig a little bit deeper into this game towards the end of our show. But I'll leave this to you. From the show on Thursday that we did, the midweek, man, I just want to ask you this. You said you're not concerned about Portland, right? But at the same time, the guys that ended the game on Portland should have been, a lot of them are going to be on the field in Mexico. So that was one of the reasons why I said I didn't like this loss, because some of the starters just seem to have let us down. What is the formula? And this is the question about Cruz Azul before we go into Portland. But what is the formula for LAFC not to run into trouble? What do they need to do in order to basically get out of there without stress and essentially just get through this game?
This is one of those reasons why I'm glad I'm not the coach, because the way I see this game, there's kind of 2 ways to play it. I think the first thing, the longer LAFC keeps Cruz Azul off the board, the better it is for LAFC. I mean, this is pretty basic arithmetic, but as Ivan said earlier, if Cruz Azul puts in a goal in the first 10 minutes, it's going to be game on. The energy is going to go nuts there, and they're going to have the whole first half to keep pressing it. And, if the worst case for LAFC is conceding 2 goals by second half without putting anything in, I think this game just becomes a brawl then. And being the road team, you tend to lose a bit of stamina on dogfights like that than otherwise. And this would be, I think, what Luc Ramon is going to need to do. He's going to want to come out and score very, very quickly. Now, on the other hand, yeah. So if you're LAFC, do you just try to absorb this, knowing that your defense has done pretty good? And the defense has done good enough that I think this is probably an acceptable option for Mark DeSantos. The other one is you go in there and you play like you're 0-0 and you stay on the front foot and you push some guys forward, knowing that you are going to be more vulnerable in situations, but you're going for that first goal. And if LAFC puts in a first goal in 10 minutes and keeps them sleeping or on a fast break, and the fast break we do have, I think, an advantage on. But if we can put in a goal in the first 15, 20 minutes, all of a sudden Cruz Azul has to score 5 goals to advance,
Exactly, which was my point early. And you also, if you don't tax yourself too hard in the beginning of the game, you're going to have more in the tank, right? In order to finish the game, right? So maybe the first 10, 20 minutes, you do play toe-to-toe, you don't exert yourself, but don't fully defend. Just don't defend, because if you're chasing ball for the first 20, you're gassed by the 25th minute or by the 85th minute. And we've seen that with the Chirando squads before. They just fall short at the end. That's the problem. At the end, you guys ran out of gas once again because you're making your wingers just go full field and just go after motherfuckers. I remember seeing like Kiki Oliveira just defending Douglas Costa, and I'm like, wait, what? It's Douglas Costa. Like, why is it not the fullback? Why is Kiki over there defending Douglas Costa? I never understood that about Chirando's system. But all right, I'm going to ask you guys to put a pause on this Cruz Azul talk for a second. Let's talk about the boys. Let's talk about the kids that played this weekend. Unfortunately, LAFC comes out with the loss. I was verbal on Twitter saying, look, you don't want to lose like this at the death when I already turned off the TV, then celebrated the point. Typical Celso to leave early, right? But dude, like, again, go back to you, Eric. You said you weren't worried at all, bro. Like, I didn't love it. I didn't love it at all. I thought it was a little bit soft, especially given how many of the starters were there.
We could have taken a 5-0 beatdown, and I wouldn't have cared at all about this game. I will say, to your point, seeing Tafari and Bouanga go out there was definitely something I would rather have not seen, even Ordaz in a bit. But at the end of the day, we were out there with, we were four academy players in this game, basically.
Yeah, we have Evans, we had Jude,
Nielsen,
which we had Kenny Nielsen, and then Tomas Hasal, and then the goalkeeper, which I already forgot his name.
Hasal, and then Cabral Carter.
Cabral Carter. Yeah, I want to call him Cabral, and I'm like, that's not it.
Who he is the academy goalkeeper.
I know.
He basically came on this thing just in case something happened to Hasal, and something did happen to Hasal. So he got thrown out there, and it was tough for him. And I do think that part of that inexperience is what cost us that second goal. But again, this game to me is a learning experience for the players, and I think they learned a lot more by conceding a very late goal at the end of the game that will help them in their careers much more than grinding out that 1-1 draw. And it's just kind of the way I see it. When you have a bunch of young guys getting thrown into the fire, they need to learn these lessons, and these are the things that teach them to never switch off. And that's what separates a rookie from a veteran.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a little bit more of a learning experience for the coaching staff, flying really high, we didn't lose any games, yada, yada, yada. And then here we go. And then you got handled a loss by, Phil Neville, dying coach, a team that had not had any wins, one win in the whole season. So I'll go to you, Ivan, and I ask the same question. Like, were you, and by the way, what I like about you, and by the way, you have a lot of fans on the chat for what I can see, and you have some very unique takes, and we call them Ivan takes. So what's your take on the first loss of the season and the first loss of LAFC with Mark Dos Santos on the realm?
I think what we called it, right? It was like a communication thing where you can communicate, hey, we're going for everything, right? But this kind of shows like we're focusing on Champions League or Concacaf Champions, whatever you want to call it. And that to me is different from what other coaches, right, have ever probably in LAFC's history where they're prioritizing a tournament over the other, and it's because they need it. And I think as far as a loss, I would say the guys that didn't do as good were the guys that were the vets, right? Because Nielsen had a better game than Tafari, and I think it can be Tafari probably wasn't putting his foot on the gas the whole time. But to your point, I think Dos Santos is having to manage now two teams essentially. I mean, that's pretty impressive because no coach in LAFC history has been able to do that. They'll be like, I'm throwing in my starting 11. You guys figure it out. I don't care if you have tired legs. What I liked about LAFC is that Portland was fighting for their life. Like they're pretty much in terms of their coaching, like So that to me shows like grit in the younger guys. I think this is the best young team that I've seen from LAFC ever since they've started. Not just with Terry, but you have Nielsen. You can put Ordaz in there too. Like there are players here that are gonna fight for LAFC's badge. And you can tell like they feel the club, and that's something way different than we've seen before.
You got to finish games, man. At the end of the day, I don't care who the fuck is playing and not. Again, I'm just saying that if it's the 94th minute, put the freaking president of the club in front of the goalkeeper and then call out. I don't care. Who do you have to care? You have to be able to secure 1 point in that situation. If it was the 70th minute and you're losing, it's different. I just don't like losing games in the 95th minute. Does that bother you at all? Where did the thing happen? At the end, at the death. That's all I'm trying to ask. And I'll ask to you first, Ivan. Do you think it matters at all? Because you know what I thought about? Bob Bradley. You know what? I remember 2 signature losses from that man, and they were all at the death. 95th minute, you're going home. You're like, what the hell? And here comes Minnesota United at BMO, and then suddenly they score at the death. Or my guy, Mbaki fall, man. Like we go to SKC at the death. This guy concedes a goal. So that's kind of like what I'm starting to think. All right, yes, put the players aside, but is this coaching staff going to be a coaching staff that can hold on to wins when it's meaningful and hold on to ties when it's meaningful, like we saw?
Yeah, and I think that's where you said earlier, for this club, what they have some signature things that they do. I saw Tillman at a certain place, he was just kind of giving up on it, which is fine, but that's not communicating like I want to have a winning team, right? A tie would have been good in that sense, but there were a couple players on there. You're like, I don't get why they were doing that in terms of like, let's get the win for the maybe not for yourself, but for the kids. And I think that was something that was very, very strange. But in terms of no injuries, they didn't come out, let's say, totally battered. I'm sure. Yeah, and I'm sure
someone had a busted nose. I mean, it was Hassan, but yeah, I get it.
I don't know.
Got it at Loris, right?
Yeah, you just snap it back and you're fine. But in terms of that was positive. And I don't know, Mark Dos Santos, I think the worst match I've seen him play so far was which is Alajuelense at Costa Rica. The first 30, 40 minutes, he did not know what to do against that team. So that was to me more indicative of like poor coaching than this game per se. And I liked what he did with some of the players. Like Ordaz was essentially a midfielder. Like he was taking balls. He was like they were saying like, oh, he's tired. He's not scoring, but like motherfuckers out here in the midfield doing like God's work essentially. So that to me shows like grit. In my opinion, too, Ordaz should be a captain for this team over a lot of players because he shows like he's fighting.
He's on his way. He's on his way, right, Eric? So all right, I'm gonna go to you, and you better give me the right answer on this. There's only one, but who did surprise you? Who did overwhelm you with love when you were watching this game in Portland? Of all the players that started among LAFC players,
I mean, I've been glazing Jude Terry for a year and a half at this point. So obviously seeing him basically score a complete golazo that
Baller.
last I saw, and hey, everybody go to the MLS Twitter account. That is up there for goal of the week. And last I saw it was barely leading 39% to 38% on another one. So go vote for that one. No, but I love Jude Terry. I love seeing the grit come out. Yeah, that was, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I think Nielsen did pretty well also. He's had some good games. I think he did pretty well. Matt Evans also did well. I thought he took kind of his yellow card.
What do you think of Matt Evans? Talk to me about Matt Evans.
Oh no, Matt Evans is great, and I think Matt Evans, who assisted Jude Terry on that goal, which Jude Terry did a lot of work, but he did make the layoff to him. So I think Matt Evans very promising, Nielsen very promising. It's just finding these guys like time and minutes to get out there and keep playing. Which I think after this tournament ends, the second half of the season, we're going to see a lot more of these guys playing, and we need to see a lot more of these guys playing. One thing I was thinking on this to keep in mind, Eustachio, with his injury, his loan ends in the summer. Do we pick him up? Do we not? The way Jude Terry is playing, picking up Eustachio would keep him off the field. And if we're looking at spending DP,
there's no reason.
No reason. So
and then the other thing is you got Igor Jesus that at some point is going to come back. Very young guy, he's under contract. You pay him a lot. So all right. So for you, Ivan, like who else surprised you positively or negative? I'll give you just some context, lineups and the worst rated player by SofaScore, Artem Smoliakov and Nathan Ordaz. So those are the two lowest SofaScore players, and Jude Terry the highest one. But what did you think of the lineup?
Ivan, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to point out with Ordaz was basically playing the role that he plays on the Salvadoran national team, which I thought was really interesting.
No, yeah, I think
true.
Too.
Great point right here, by the way.
I did want to talk about Smoliakov, but because that was interesting, a match that I don't know if they were losing by then, but he tried to fight, which I like that, right? But not necessarily all the time, because that can lead to goals against you or having a red card, right? But that was maybe his frustration of the season, like he's not getting the minutes and he's not starting. But I think obviously Jude Terry, everybody's talking about him. What I think is interesting about just in general a lot of these players is every match, especially the young guys, they look better, like exponentially better after watching them. In the past, you would never see that growth. So something's happening in the academies and the whatever, what do you want to call the second team, that they are making progress. I don't know what they're doing differently, but you're seeing
they did
like
a lot of
the
things
passes.
different. A lot of things. They have a new coach. Yeah, I know they cleaned house.
Yeah, and like Nielsen is again, he's surprising because he makes very little mistakes. As a young player, to have that ability to not make mistakes, that's pretty much you're gonna win, right? Because you can do fancy stuff, score goals like Jude Terry, but if you're consistent and not making mistakes, you're gonna get the minutes over a lot of other players.
So, Eric, so the thing about Kenny Nielsen for me is that I feel like his stature, right? Like he's just not tall for a center back. So I always be like, man, this dude, he's just a little bit short for a center back, but he always goes there and delivers. And again, what do you think of him? I think he would actually be a much better, like, I don't know, a six, playing right in front of them. Although his feet might not be as good, and he's an extremely physical player. So what are your thoughts on Nielsen and what he's shown so far? Is this the next big product out of our academy that is really going to be featured in our lineups once one of these guys naturally moves on?
It's too early to say. He could be. I think he's got it in him. I think he should stay on the back line. I think he still needs to work on that position, work on his defending. It was interesting. Jude Terry got put into the six because, and maybe this is part of your thing. We haven't had any big academy products really hit. I mean, Ordaz is the best we've done from our academy so far. But you go back, remember Eric Dueñas would come out, or it'd be Daniel Crisostomo coming out, or even Cal Jennings, though he was a super draft pick, like a lot of the academy guys would come out, but nobody really came in to make a good impact. Like Ordaz has made the best impact, but we're waiting for that guy to come out and make the next step. Now, I'll kind of go back into what I think has probably been one of the most successful academy programs of the last decade, which is the Philadelphia Union, considering there's not a hotbed of soccer talent up there compared to a lot of other places like Texas or California or whatever. And, Jim Curtin, who did a lot for building that, basically said academies take 10 years to build. And at the 10th year of that build, the 10th year of their academy was when Brendan Aronson came out. 2 years later, Paxton Aronson came out. So LAFC Academy here, like we're pretty much at that 10-year level. So we should be seeing guys break out. It would have been Bombino if he had been playing here, but he moved on. And that's part of keeping these academy guys going so we don't get another Bombino that we send off without seeing like what he's got. I know I've meandered a bit, but as far as Nielsen, I think Nielsen needs to keep working at center back. He might be that guy. He might not be that guy. It's going to be up to him to grind out in practice and take those next steps and those next jumps.
I'm excited for him. I think he's a good depth piece for us, and again, that opens up space for someone else big. Smoliakov, that's a problem. We might have to deal him out. Like he looked shaky yesterday. It wasn't a cheap purchase for us. Another failed fullback, but maybe someone that comes in, recommended by Mark, someone on a different system that he understands, that uses his scouting, could lead to better results. Because ever since Sergio Palencia joined, we've had so many fullbacks, join us, and none of us that have been like that great. So I'm still waiting for a fullback to do well.
Why didn't Ebobasi play?
I think it was coach's choice.
Artem, man, I think we're seeing why he's not big on the field. He just looks like, he doesn't have any confidence at all. He hesitated a lot on his challenges, and that's another thing with Nielsen is Nielsen played next to him. So when Artem couldn't clean something up, Nielsen would have to step. So, it's another kudos for him. But yeah, Artem, I almost feel like the team at this point, they just need to loan him out. They need to get him somewhere he can play because he just looked like he had no confidence at all, and
deal him, man.
He looked better last season, honestly. And I think
took a big step back, which is weird.
He needs to play, and it's not going to be here. So I think, hopefully this transfer window.
Can't win them all. Let's not turn this into the beat Smoliakov hour. I get it. Like, we can't win them all. He's a good kid. We say and we talk about it because we want him to flourish. And when we don't see it, we kind of get disappointed, but not because we're not Brazilians here. Well, I am, but we're not going to just beat a player because he does bad. That's not what we do in this show at all. All right, let's go back to Cruz Azul. I think we beat this thing to death, but at the end of the day, 0 points out of this. What's up?
The chat, you got a question from Park about Lucas Moura. As a tricolor fan, you gotta take this. What do you think about bringing on Lucas Moura? I remember 2 years ago when he first went to Brazil, you were super excited about picking him up, but how do you feel now?
Well, he's 2 years older, so it starts there. So he can start there. His retrospect with São Paulo is mixed because of his physical condition, his aging, and he is a very good leader in a locker room. So having him around and rebuilding those Tottenham, I would say, roots and connections would be a major plus for us. But he's kind of on the James Rodriguez sort of, level where we don't know how much he has physically in the tank. So I much rather another Major League Soccer team pick Lucas up so that we can see him in another roster. I'm not jealous if he doesn't come to LAFC. I think this is a guy that should come to Major League Soccer, but I don't think LAFC should take risks on, and they don't, on players that have kind of a bad physical resume. You know what I mean? And for a dude his age that is sort of on the downside of his production, I think you can do better, even within your academy. And that's that for Lucas. And that comes from a guy that was at São Paulo and did some things for us, but was unavailable in other key moments. And that's where my analysis comes from.
All right.
We'll see. But Bernardo, I think that's an interesting move because of the Portuguese roots, because of the fact that Again, he's a captain at Chelsea, or I'm sorry, I think at Chelsea. So it's someone with a little bit more of a higher caliber.
Man City.
Yeah, Man City, my bad. And I don't watch EPL. And I really and then I really feel like that would be a guy that's be an automatic impact from a leadership and what he brings. So, you know what I mean? Like an Ilya Sanchez kind of player, right? But we'll see.
Yeah, the Premier League has a lot of pace, so any player coming from Premier League is going to do good in MLS because they're used to that like physical, fast, versus maybe other leagues. That's why other leagues don't really tend to do on MLS because it is a very physical league.
Yeah, and look, and it's not about aging necessarily because it's about like how's your body, responding to aging, and you can make the same argument with Neymar, and it's the biggest topic in Brazil: is Neymar going to make it or not? And he didn't take good care of his body, and now like he's a certain age, and like the same guys from his generation, their bodies are doing better, are faring better. They have true sports injuries, but this guy is actually aging, and you see it in his movement. So it's you can tell just by the way they move. With Lucas, it's about availability. Sonny continues to play, continues to be available, and at least so far, right? So we've liked so far what he's brought to us. Lucas, half of the games not available, right? So like, what the hell do you want this guy for? You know what I'm saying? You don't want another, Bale. We had our Bale moment, and that was, he was available for 20% of the games. It mattered once, but I think beyond that, it didn't matter. But like 30 minutes of a show, which means we're going to go towards the end of our last segment, if I want to call it, which, again, go back to the Cruz Azul, but be a little bit more objective about what do you think is going to happen, lineups, that kind of stuff. So I start with you, Eric. We'll start with the LAFC lineup because, again, we had an amazing discussion last show about like who should play, who shouldn't play in Portland. And we ended up seeing a mix of both of our theories, right? Both, a little bit of both. So, let's go to you with who do you think are the best 11 right now to play? Forget who's going to play, but if it was you and you're the coach, tell me who would you start? Who are the best 11 that could go there and get the job done? And sometimes maybe in a tactical manner, you could tweak the lineup for your, for what you're trying to do in this situation. So who would you start if you're the coach?
I mean, honestly, this is so boring. I'm sorry for the boring podcast talk here, but I'm going to roll out the exact same lineup that rolled out last game against Cruz Azul, which would be Lloris, Palencia, Porteous, Tafari, Segura, Tillman, Delgado, Chonier, Martinez, Bouanga, and Son. And I think looking at who played last week and who didn't, I think there's a good chance this is the lineup we're going to get. Tafari going 90 was the one surprise for me last time, but it is what it is. I guess if everybody who had to play, he probably has the best lungs to go out and keep going out again. So there's that. So that's what I got. Same lineup.
That's look, man. Someone has to like the vanilla ice cream, right? And I appreciate you giving me the vanilla lineup, which, by the way, it's likely that's we're gonna see it. But if you were the coach, is that what you really wanted? And like now you're stuck with that. Ivan, I go to you. You can do you agree with Eric's lineup for LAFC? And tell me would you rather see over there? Or are you content with kind of basically keeping this this thing steady from the game one lineup?
Well, I think Palencia, Son, and Bouanga, if they get a yellow, they'll miss the next match. And I'm sure that's going in the back of the heads of the coach. Obviously, you got to win this to go to the next one, but that does play a factor because Cruz Azul is going to go. They're going to commit a lot of fouls tomorrow, and given the coaches in Concacaf, they know they like giving a little bit of leeway for the teams that are down. So that's going to be something going into this game where LAFC is not going to get those calls again. So getting players to understand that game model that's happening, and that's definitely going to be in play. Cruz Azul is a grimy team, right? So they're one of the teams that commit the most fouls in the league. I think just under Pachuca, Pachuca and Cruz Azul are top two. So that's something that's going to play a factor. I think they're going to switch the goalie from the last lineup versus LAFC. I think Gudiño goes as a starter now. Just because I don't think Miet he just doesn't look fit right now. The only difference in the back line would be Piovi's going to be for Lira, which in the back, last game, Lira was on the left, which Lira is a very promising player for Mexico in general, and Boanga and Martinez made him look very, very amateur, like if not embarrassing, right? So I think the top you're going to see and Fernandez versus Ibanez, and other than that, it's going to be the same squad. It's going to be interesting because Rotondi now is healthy. You saw him get a little bit of minutes last week, but he's a player that I think has great potential to attack and also defend, and has great has great lungs. So again, the fouls are going to play a factor. Larcamón is going to be chirping at the bench, and then LAFC is playing away. So I'm curious to see how what MDS is going to do. I don't think he starts Martinez, and I don't think he starts a couple of the other guys just because he's probably going to want to maintain as much on the back. And I'm assuming everyone's healthy on LAFC, which I think they are. Again, the cards are going to play a factor, which Boanga, Son, and Palencia, just stay on your P's and Q's, I would say.
So for me, the lineup would be a 5-3-2, and I would actually make a tactical change here and start Kenny Nielsen or a defensive player there between the fullbacks, and just really, if you're gonna really do this, and if you really want to be defensive for the first 45 minutes, you come in with a 5-3-2 and you put Kenny Nielsen and you only start Son and Boanga up front, right? And you just leave David Martinez in your bench so that if you need him, they're ready to go and you can just start a fire out of nothing, right? So now you have some grinders. You have a young player that's shown us that can play some real minutes defensively. And I know it's not going to happen, but again, if I'm the coach, I actually would make a substitution in there that would catch Larcamón I was like, wait, what did they just do? Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Now we got to talk about it because we expected them to do this. And now Cruz Azul has to react. So if it was up to me, I would go 5-3-2, super conservative, boring, slow it down, be smart. If someone kicks you, you fall to the ground, you roll down, and you pretend that you're injured at times. Even if it doesn't hurt that much, just stay the fuck down. So let's see how smart, and I would say tacit our players can be, because Eric and I have talked on and on about how naive a Major League Soccer team can be when playing a South or a Latin American opponent. Eric, are you concerned about this? Do we have the mindset to get beyond a team that has maybe that possess that again, in Brazil, we call it jeitinho or something like this? Are you concerned that it can get in our heads and suddenly we're spiraling out of control?
I think if we had Dolo coaching us, I would absolutely be afraid of that. If we had Bob Bradley coaching us, I would absolutely be afraid of that. I feel a little better with Mark Dos Santos. You did steal some of my thunder. I was going in to say, we need to be maximum shithousing this game, and we need to be rolling on the ground with every tiny little touch that we take, and we need to flip the script on them. And that's what we go. I love the 5-3-2 coming out, especially first half, and just doing that. But I mean, yes, it's interesting. I think
we have a lot of depth in the center back, and that's why I'm like, it would be natural. You could put Segura in there, and then slide Hollingshead. You don't even need Kenny Nielsen, right? So there's ways you can do it. And just put Segura right next to Hollingshead and let Hollingshead attack more. You know what I mean?
And I guess all in all, at the end of the day, avoiding this game becoming a trap game. Like, that's basically number one that we got to do. And that's what we have to have confidence that Mark Dos Santos can do, to not go in overconfident and then have surprises happen.
Well, a trap game would be LAFC loses 5-1, and that's what we're discussing on Thursday, which I'm not ready to. I'm sorry, on Wednesday, and I'm not ready to have that conversation.
You will never live that down. That'll be crazy.
You know what I'm talking about? So again, so let's just talk about the possible scores before we talk about what we think the score is going to be. 0-0 LAFC wins. 1-0 each way LAFC wins. 2-0 each way LAFC wins. 3-0 Cruz Azul way, we go to extras. Is that right? Or we go to extras before penalty kicks. 4-1 LAFC, 4-1 Cruz Azul, LAFC wins. 5-1 Cruz Azul, LAFC would lose. and then 6-2 Cruz Azul LAFC loses. So I mean 2 goals for LAFC means Cruz Azul needs 6 goals, which I don't think LAFC has ever been scored 6 goals on. So you just don't fuck it up, right? Ivan, I'll go to you. What do you think happens here score wise? Tell me what your prediction is.
I think LAFC loses, but they don't lose the series. So I think like a 2-1. Cruz Azul wins, but they won't win the series. It'll be very hard to score more than I can see them scoring 3 goals on LAFC, but not 4. So either way, I think LAFC at least gets 1, and that pretty much if LAFC gets 1, it seals the game. Like that is just demoralizing. If they can get it fast in the beginning, even that might be a massacre. If LAFC goes up 1, and that might be a crazy scoreline.
Yeah. Okay. So what? I'm sorry, I missed it because I saw the comment here. But 3-1 Cruz Azul in Puebla. Beautiful. All right, Eric. To you, what do you think the score is? How did this breaks down? And what are we talking about on the Wednesday show? Please join us, by the way. And if you're new, hit the subscribe button and come back. We'll have a follow-up discussion about this game, about what actually happened and how wrong or right we were about everything we talked about. Go ahead.
Yeah. And give us all a follow. You know, you have Ivan the Creator, Eric Hulsum, or Celso Oliveira on Twitter. And, you know, if you ever, sometimes we just kind of will do shows on short notice. So if you're following us, I'll always post before we do a show. Sometimes it'll be a half hour, but I'll give you a post. As far as this game and the scores, man, I've probably changed my score like 4 times in my head in the last 5 minutes. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw on this one. I think that Cruz Azul is going to put in the first goal, but then I think LAFC is going to catch them on a counter and put in another goal and deflate it. Cruz Azul is going to batter, put in a second one, and then they're going to get caught out pushing numbers forward, going for the game. And that's kind of how we're going to end. I'm very confident Marc Dos Santos will have everybody mentally prepared, mentally strong for this game, and that the front office has seen enough shenanigans going on with games down there, whether it's food poisoning, which allegedly happened to Columbus. I know they decided they were going to fly really late into the game, and I think they're flying there tonight. I don't think they've even landed yet. They should have all their food with them on the plane. They're going to eat meals that they brought with them. And then, you know, that's going to be that. They're going to keep everything self-contained there. They're going to sleep with earplugs because Cruz Azul fans
the noise outside the hotel.
They're going to be shooting fireworks off at 1 a.m. For the traveling fans at 3252. I know they've done this before with Leon, where they put you into the cage and then they give you a bunch of salty-ass peanuts and popcorn, and they don't give you any water for 70 minutes of the game, so your mouth gets dry and you can't even cheer. This has happened before. You know, we've been down to Mexico enough times now that, you know, we're not geeks off the street anymore. We're starting to figure this out. So all of these there, I think we're going to go get it done, and we'll be looking at the next match.
You said 2-2. You said 2-2. All right.
2-2.
I think everything you've described is what you like to call shithousery, which was the other name for our podcast. We end up with section 128. But Eric really wanted shithousery, and we passed on that. But I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect of this game, but I can expect drama because I don't think Continental games are ever easy, ever. And Cruz Azul is a major institution, and they did not like how the game here in LA went. And I'm concerned. I'm with Ivan on this. I don't see us getting there with the result at all. And maybe we have to talk about another loss, which sucks, but LAFC coming through given the advantage that we have. So I'd like to see us get on the board right away, and I hope that happens. Will it? I don't know. I think it's going to be a 2-0 win to Cruz Azul and us sweating for the rest of the way, boys. So stay on because I've seen it. I've seen it happen before. And maybe at the end we get that first goal and it's all relief at the end. You can unclench, as Eric says. But there's going to be at a point at a time where you doubt whether we're going to go through or not. There will be one of those. Did not think Cruz Azul, LAFC.
Hey, Omar in the
assist.
chat.
What's
Omar
up,
calls
Omar?
2-1 LAFC win.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'll point out Omar got the 3-0 for the last match. Like he called the 3-0 last week and he says 2-1. So well, let's see if lightning strikes twice.
All right. Anybody else before I close this puppy out? All right. Well, yeah, we're going to try to do another show here. It was 45 minutes today. Not too bad, given we had an amazing host. And Ivan, thank you very much for being here and doing this with us. Always a pleasure having you talking some LAFC smack and some Cruz Azul knowledge and whatever else you bring it out. So, very cool. And as usual, Eric, thank you very much for doing this. Every Monday, we're here. We don't need any announcements. You know where to find us. Always on YouTube, always on Ask, always on X. Excuse you very much. And that's the end. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday.